And they would have ordered the tomb from a tomb builder. The tomb builder then would have ordered it from Italy. They would construct it in Italy, deconstruct it, put it on a boat, shipped it over here. Then the tomb builder would supervise reconstruction and done any of the engraving work on the tomb. But you can see marble does have some problems. You can see some deterioration of marble, plus that black mold, which I think is universal. You probably got it in Australia too, I would imagine. It's pretty much all over the world, I think. And it gets under the surface, so you can't get it off. And some tombs turn completely black.
Oh, wow.
You just have to live with it. Someone may already know whose tomb this is. I assume you do, since you seem to know all this good stuff, right? Who is it?
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, right. This guy would keep track of everything. But Nicolas Cage had this tomb built here, I guess, about 15, 20 years ago. And one reason he had it built on the States was because he consulted a fortune teller. And she told him to build a tomb in St. Louis Cemetery. He's goofy enough to do something. One thing I think is a little bit wacky, though, is because his parents divorced when he was relatively young. Father put him in a very exclusive school in Southern California. And the other kids had nice cars and lots of money and so forth, which he did not have. So when he started acting, he went a little bit crazy. 12 homes, 40 automobiles, 4 yachts, came to New Orleans, made a movie here, bought a home in Garden District for $3.5 million. Then he came down to French Quarter, but another $3.5 million. Then the IRS came along and said, you owe us $6.2 million. He did not have it, so banks repossessed his homes. But now, I assume he live in rented quarters, he comes down here to make a movie. But you see the tomb is classical in style, of course, pyramids going all the way back to the Egyptians. But apparently, Cage does have some religious orientation because of this Latin inscription. It says Omnia ab uno, which I interpret as everything from one. The one being whatever overarching God he believes on the universe. But probably Roman Catholic too, partly because of the Latin inscription, but also too because his given name was not Cage. What was it?
Coppola.
Yeah.
You know.
I know that.
Francis Ford Coppola is his uncle.
Yeah.
Sharp people today. Francis Ford Coppola was his uncle. So he didn't want to trade on the family name. We started acting, so he changed his name to
Cage.
what? Why Cage?
I don't know why.
I don't know
Cage.
that.
I got you.
So that one I don't know.
Anybody?
Nope.
How about Luke Cage? No?
No?
Was he an actor?
Huh?
Or am I thinking of someone else?
No, Luke Cage is his favorite comic book character.
Don't read comic books, so.
I was just kidding with you. But he changed it to his favorite comic book character. So you listen, give me an idea what Marie Laveau's tomb looked like one time.
Right.
With all the X's on it. And initially it had all the junk around the house too. But this particular tomb came about as a result, I believe, of, well, you notice that there were a lot of tourists trying to get the Marie Laveau's tomb. And I think an enterprising tour guide did not want to wait. So he took an old abandoned tomb and created his own Beau Laveau tomb. Just put a bunch of X's on it, put a bunch of junk around and talk about Marie Laveau. Now these little tombs here, these are some of the original burials in the cemetery. The cemetery was open, we're not building above ground tombs. The original procedure was you'd come in with the coffin, dig a little trench about 15 inches deep, then build a little brick tomb in there to put the coffin in and then finish the building on top of it. Now the tombs are referred to as step tombs for obvious reasons. And the only information had as far as the deceased was an iron cross. And for some reason they put this, don't touch it. See the iron? And the iron, there's a piece of one down there behind those bricks too. But the iron cross had the name and the date of death. That's the only information as far as deceased. This was obviously an adult. This was probably a child, because many children did die. We had no idea where disease came from. We thought it was some sort of miasma coming up from the ground that could be burned tar and sheet cannons, try to clear it, all kind of foolish like that. But we just had no idea. And half the people were dead by the time they were 17 years old. So, kind of risky living back in those days. But this, like I said, was probably a child. But the reason I say probably because we did have some very small adults too. And in the early 1800s, you only had to be 4'11" to be in Napoleon's army. So probably had a gun bigger than you were. But I'm assuming this was a child since so many children did die back in those days. Now you were asking about the multiple tombs. Multiple tombs like these referred to by a generic term, society tomb. That came about as a result of when many immigrants came over. They were so poor they could not even afford a crypt in the wall, but they could join immigrant society, and when they died, be buried in a society tomb. This particular tomb here is the Italian Benevolent Society tomb, and there's appeared to be several thousand people buried in here, which is probably true. Distance there you see one way up in the air, that's the French Society tomb, and that's very typical of these society tombs. But some of them are organizations also. You know, it's religious organizations, fraternal organizations, all kinds of, any organization can build a society tomb.
Do you know what happened up there, or did it just fall off?
Faceless had
That's been like that. I've been there for about 20 years, and that's been like that ever since I've been here.
Huh.
So it appears to be vandalism.
Yeah.
Since the face was smashed too. Heads could have been accidental, but that kind of vandalism.
For also.
And
I
that's
think
not
it's-
deterioration.
funny that there's a door knocker.
Yeah.
Hello?
I think it's more to pull it open than to try and raise anyone in there. I hope so. I'm going to talk about the back of the tomb here. There's Pietro Bulli, architecto, which I assume is Italian for architect. But the reason I come to the back of the tomb is this tomb was used in the movie. And I'll tell you a little bit about the movie, then you'll tell me what the movie was. It was two hippies coming from Southern California with their long hair and their chopper motorcycles coming across the town.
Easy Rider.
Easy Rider.
But I only knew that because I read in the tour book the other day.
Now this tomb here looks like a society tomb, but it's a military tomb. You look on the very top, it says Orleans Battalion of Artillery. Now that was a Creole organization formed not long after the French got here.
They ground up the seashells, they didn't? For the,
Well, they ground it up for the mortar.
for the mortar. So what are these?
Those are there because, as I told you earlier, we have no stone. If you don't have any stone, you don't have to take anything to make gravel with. So that was our gravel.
Oh, okay.
We dredge up billions of these clamshells from Lake Pontchartrain. Wherever we had a muddy spot, we put clamshells in.
Oh, okay.
When I was growing up, we had a muddy street on the side of the street I lived on. And they'd come along with a big dump truck filled with clamshells. They'd dump them down, and then another truck would come with oil. I'm going way back. oil them so you wouldn't get all that dust from the crushing clamshells.
Interesting.
Made a mess out of your car, I know that.
Sure.
Let's go. Now, this tomb here holds probably the second most prominent person buried in here after Marina Lowe, and that's Homer Plessy. Now, you may not recognize Plessy, the name Plessy by itself, but if I pair it up with men buried in Lafayette Cemetery called John Howard Ferguson. Anyone?
The Supreme Court decision?
Yeah. It was
So
a very
she's best-
significant civil rights case in the late 1800s called Plessy versus Ferguson. You know that too.
I've learned about it in history class.
You all learn everything. We're not learning much of anything up here or anything.
Didn't ring a bell for me.
But Plessy was a black man, technically. I say technically, actually 7/8 white. But by Louisiana law, you were a black person up to 1/32 black blood. So if your great-grandfather, great-grandmother were black, you were technically a black person. But many people that got more and more of a mixture of white blood would what they call pass for white. They would say they were white, and so you end up some really confusing situations where some people saying they're black, some people saying they're white, the same thing. But Plessy considered himself to be a black person, belonged to an organization that wanted to challenge Jim Crow laws. These had been enacted throughout the South after the Civil War to segregate what at that time was known as white from colored. He agreed to get on segregated trains, sat in a white car. He was so white, though, the organization hired a police detective to challenge him. When he refused to move, the detective arrested him, brought him before Judge John Howard Ferguson. Ferguson was a Massachusetts carpetbagger, but he did uphold Louisiana law. This closure on the side of this tomb here, that's the original closure on the Poopaw family tomb. And the last burial on that closure was in 1955. When you fill up a closure, you just move it around to the side, and you move it on the front. And then when you fill that one up, you move that one around to the side. So you can see it's almost infinite number. They're only limited by time, a little over a year, and each of the tomb blocks, but each of the burials. But that's very typical. And I've seen some tombs in other cemeteries. We have 4 or 5 closures on the side.
All the beads.